Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 1796 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, NormalVolFan, alongside Ryan, here to talk about the latest SEC win series against Florida, at Florida, too, in Gainesville. The Vols picked up game one, dropped game two, and dominated game three late in the game. But overall, really fun series to watch. Honestly, we could have swept them. I feel like the umps gave them the game on the second game on Saturday. But yeah, Ryan, what'd you think about the series?
Yeah, it's a very nice series win. You're talking about a team in Florida that is desperately clawing for any win they can get right now because they're, at this point right now, not going to make the postseason with less than 13 conference wins. Pretty much you need 13 conference wins to even be considered, and they are not there yet. But you go into Florida on the road, desperate team, like I already said. You have to play a doubleheader the first day, which, by the way, winning both games of a doubleheader almost never happens. So I was perfectly fine. I understand that we could have won the second game of that doubleheader if things went right, if we didn't have a few errors, if things just fell a little bit differently. But then you come back on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and just blow them out of the water. After 3 innings of us kind of sleepwalking, we put up an 11-run inning, and that was all she wrote. So another good series win heading into the final stretch of this season.
Absolutely. Like I said, I think the umps gave them a really good shot on that second game. I think Tennessee played really well when the bats weren't going what we're used to. The bats definitely woke up in the sixth inning of the third game. I'm hoping that, is a good trend towards the end of the season because I think this team really needed something like that to happen to get their confidence back up because they were having a rough couple games after losing to Lipscomb, on the midweek. It's tough to come into a series like Florida in Gainesville and come out the series winner. And I threw up a stat on Twitter the other day, but since Tony Vitello has been here, did you know that we are 14-6 overall and 5-1 in series play against Florida under Vitello? I think that's incredible. And yeah, Florida has been a really good team throughout those years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Florida is one of the best baseball programs of the 21st century, maybe, the last decade or so, but they are, you said it last week, I mean, Florida's always going to have a decent baseball team. And so far into Vitello's tenure, he's taking care of business. Now, I was thinking this, just taking in the whole series. I think if we ended up playing that game on Thursday and didn't have to have a doubleheader, we would have swept them.
I agree. I mean, like you said, having to play a team twice in the same day, it's really hard to win, especially on the road. So, and like I said, I mean, our bats have been, lost at some points during the past couple games. So, I think you're right. I think if we play on Thursday, I think Tennessee definitely had a really good chance to sweep Florida, which would have been amazing. But of course, you got to take what you can get. So I'm glad with what we got. I like the 2 wins. We're still in second place in the East, but plenty of games to play. You got to win these games, and at the end of the regular season, you got to pull them off because. Honestly, at this point, I feel like Kentucky is the ones that have the stress. They have to win games because Tennessee, you got really nothing to lose. You're in second place in the East, and Kentucky's got to win because these series coming up against Vandy and South Carolina, they're really good teams, but I think Tennessee's the better team. So even if you could take 4 out of 6, that puts a lot of weight on Kentucky's shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. And give credit to Kentucky. I mean, Arkansas rolls into town, and beats them on Friday night, and then Kentucky turns around and wins the last 2 games. I mean, kudos to them. They're a good ball club, and it was impressive of us to win that series a few weeks ago up there. But I just want to go game by game here against the Gators. So first game of the doubleheader on Friday, Tennessee gets 2 runs in the second. Florida answers right back immediately. Then the very next half inning, Tennessee gets up 2 runs, never relinquishes the lead. But you do get 2 huge insurance runs in the 8th and 9th innings to, get it to slam range where one hit does not, lose you the game or relinquish the lead. I think those 2 insurance runs, when the offense has been like it has, is a very good sign. But then you get to the next game of that doubleheader where the offense goes cold again, like you've already alluded to. And that's baseball. That's what I try to keep in mind throughout any Tennessee baseball season, throughout any baseball team that I enjoy watching. Like, baseball is a funny sport. Crazy things happen. The best team does not always win because there's so much variance in the game of baseball. And then you come to Saturday night where, once again, you get behind. And then I've already mentioned that 11-run inning featuring Hunter Inslee just going absolutely ham after lighting the weeds for the last few weeks in conference play. I think any questions about the offense kind of get quelled when you have an 11-run inning to win the rubber match of a hugely important SEC series.
Well, yeah. I mean, that one inning, they threw 74 pitches in one inning, and Tennessee had 14 batters at the plate. Absolutely absurd number for Tennessee to go up, especially on the road. And I know Florida made a couple of mistakes. God, I couldn't stand listening to the announcers. You could tell how depressed they were during the game. Yeah. But still, I don't care the little errors they made, whatnot. I mean, Tennessee, that was a Tennessee onslaught that inning. And, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I think this is going to be a good motivation type game going into these last series because, like I said, I mean, we've been missing the bats a little bit. I know we had KT out a little because of a hip injury, but I think we're sitting pretty, man. It's just, I feel like if Tennessee could just get AJ Russell back, bro, we're looking good. I think he's really close. I think, honestly, they're probably saving him for the postseason, is my assumption. But, this team, man, I love them. They kind of got that villain factor. I don't know if you caught that from, like, the series. I think they have, like, the villain missing from 2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, last year it was a lot of Tennessee was relying on pitching for the most part last year, and a lot of the offense was just timely hits in big spots, which is always important, but they never really snowballed on people like they showcased that they can do with this year's team in Saturday night's game. And when you can just break their psyche like that, I mean, how often does it happen when a team is trailing 3-0 after 3 full innings, and then the team that was down 3-0 ends up run ruling the team that was up 3-0? I mean, I would like to see a stat on how many times that has happened.
Not only that, they were hitting against Caglione. I mean, their best pitcher.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and another thing about the Saturday game, I know AJ Russell is the white whale that we want to have back, the ace in the hole, the pitcher that could change everything for this pitching staff. But Nate Snead,
oh yeah, yep,
he shut that game down. They didn't score a run after the 3rd inning when we were having our onslaught. I mean, that was another huge sign, and now that pushes his record to 8-1 on the year out of the bullpen. I mean, he's been incredible.
He's got that confidence too, man. I love the confidence when he comes out. He's got the gunslinging. I love the gunslinging.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. I mean it's the kind of guy that cut from the same cloth as an AJ Russell. just a guy that exudes confidence and can come in and get outs and not be intimidated by the other team's big hitters. I mean, Jack Caglione, you just mentioned his pitching. He's also one of the best hitters in college baseball. I mean, he's a
Batting
player.
over 400.
Yeah, I mean, he's incredible. Now, one thing I did want to bring up, which I saw you talking about it on Twitter, Jim, was I think the Billy Amick at third base thing might come back to bite us late in games. Maybe not, throughout the rest of the regular season, but when we get to the postseason and every run counts, every game's probably going to be closer than 16-3. Big errors, costly errors that Amick has had this year make me want him to be the DH.
What I think, though, because I'm kind of trending towards that team as well. That's where I said it on Twitter, where I'm on team Billy Amick DH, because Antigua's a 100% better defender. I mean, put him at short. Dean Curley could play third, but I think what happened is I'm starting to think that Tony promised him to play third, because I don't think he was coming to Tennessee if he wanted to, just DH, because that's why Clemson coach was trying to tell him that he was just going to be DH and he was having none of it, which I understand that, because I mean, for your MLB standings, you're not going to go say, oh, hey, I'm just a DH. Yeah. So I get it. And he's not a terrible defender. He's had a rough couple games, which I'm hoping, because for the most part, he's played pretty well, because a couple of the errors he's had in the past couple series were really hard plays. So yeah, they're counted as errors, but they're just tough. But I just feel like in the long run, it's kind of like a Chase Burns situation. Okay, that's how I look at it. I feel like for the better of the team, you have him in the lineup as a DH, and you move those two guys in the field to get better defensively. But you look at honestly, Amick's he's not gonna be here next year. He's gonna be drafted, but I think that's our best bet. I just think postseason wise, like you were saying, I feel like better defensively. You still have that enormous bat in the lineup. That's just the way I feel it needs to go.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. That's probably the reason Tony did probably promise that third base fielding position to Billy Amick. But I think if Billy Amick, if they sat him down and said, what if we, because here's my idea. Say you're up however many runs, and the only way that Billy Amick would get another at bat is if we gave up the lead. Why not take him out on defense and have Antigua at shortstop and Curley at third, like you just said? I mean, it seems kind of obvious to me that Antigua is probably the best infielder on the team. He has a rocket arm. He can make he can make any play out of shortstop, and I just don't see how that can't be a better defensive lineup when you get into games that you're trying to hold down the lead.
Yeah, like I said, I just think if you want to win games in the postseason, your defense has to be stellar, because you can't be giving runs away to teams, even the smaller teams, man. It's just baseball's baseball, and you're not going to be scoring 15 runs a game. It's just not going to happen. Yep. So, but yeah, I agree. I think, and Tony knows what he's doing. If Tony's going to make that move, we've seen it with Chase Burns. He will do it. If it's for the better of the team and he thinks that's what will win them games, he's going to do it. But I don't think Billy Amick has done enough to make him question him at third. I feel like he's played semi-decent to where he's not costing the team games. Like, yeah, he gave up that run on Saturday, but then he hit a 460-foot home run. So it's like,
yeah,
you got to mix him out. I just don't think he's done enough yet. I think it's definitely in the back of Tony's mind. I just don't think he's done enough yet for us to see that change.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think Antigua is also a guy that could be drafted. I mean, I think he's that good at defense. And
It's just get that bat.
yeah. I mean, I do think at this point you're right that his Amic's offensive prowess probably outweighs any of his shortcomings defensively. But we'll see. We will see.
Well, that's the thing is like if Antigua had more opportunities at the plate because Dean Curley has been stellar. A stellar freshman to come off the bench when Antigua was supposed to be in that spot at the beginning of the season, but he got hurt. Dean Curley took advantage, man. He took advantage and he never looked back. But I expect Antigua to be back next year, and I obviously think Antigua is going to be a starter with Amick leaving because I probably see Dean Curley staying again. I think Dean Curley will probably play third, Antigua at short. I mean, it's going to be a lot of mixing and matching because you got Blake Burke leaving, most likely. You got Christian Moore leaving, Amick. You got a lot of guys that are probably about to depart where we'll see. I think Antigua has a really, really, really high upside. He's a really good player, plays with passion. I'd love to see him get more at bats.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to talk about a move on Saturday when Tennessee was struggling against Caglione during those early innings where Colby Backus was in the game, and he pinch hits Robin Villeneuve after just one Colby Backus at bat. I saw some people kind of miffed about that one, kind of questioning that, but
I'm on that boat, dude. I questioned it.
Yeah.
I mean, Robin Villeneuve, great hitter, but he's got the most strikeouts on the team. I see where he was going with it because Villeneuve's a great hitter. He is. But you're taking a guy that already seen Caglione stuff that game, and you're taking a guy called off the bench who hasn't seen the plate in a while.
Yeah.
He hasn't played in a while. So that's where I was confused. Nothing against Robin. I think he's a great hitter. It's just in that situation, I would have had Kobe come back up because he's seen the stuff. He had a decent at bat, his first at bat too. I mean, he struck out, but it was off some changeups. I mean, that's all Jack was throwing at the beginning of the game was just changeup after changeup because everyone was expecting the 95. So, other than that, man, I was mind blown when he did that, to be honest, during the game.
Yeah, I mean, I was also kind of questioning that, just like you were and a lot of people. But I think, and it kind of made me think that, I mean, I know that Colby was not too happy about that because I'm pretty sure that was the first time he started an SEC game. And then he gets taken out after one at bat. But I also think Tony was just trying to find anything, to happen because it looked like we were about to drop that series after those first few innings. But I don't know. It's just. Well,
you talking about how he was upset about it. Any player would. Any competitive guy would be upset about it. But that's another guy, man. I think if he stays, I think he's a starter next year. So I think I don't know how mature these guys are. I never talked to him, but a mature player says, "All right, coach, Tony knows what he's doing. His track record is amazing, but it's depending on how mature the guy is. I think he'll be all right. Like I said, I think he's going to get a lot of playing time coming up next year."
Yeah. And then we've already touched on a little bit. I wanted to touch on it before we move on to other things here. But Hunter Inslee, who has been mainly, the guy we just have in center field and we kind of sacrifice, possibly having a bigger bat in the game for his defense in center field. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's still hitting 240 to 260 at worst throughout the year, but his day on Saturday was incredible. I mean, 7 RBIs. He was the Kickstarter to everything that won us that game on Saturday.
Absolutely. I mean, coming up for when he got his home run at bat, I mean, he didn't need to do that. I mean, he hit two insane doubles to just give us that, stretch of excellent offense. But then he comes up and hits a homer and gets one of the coldest pictures ever taken of him with the daddy hat on. I mean, the kid's incredible. I mean, defensively, he's always been a good defender. But his bat has been missing this year. Now, he's never been a crazy bat. But, he's been a solid average hitter. So I'm so happy for him to get that game. I think that's going to spark him, too. I think that's going to give him a lot of confidence at the plate. I'm not saying he's going to do that every game. But, a hit or two game is I expect for the next coming weeks with him.
Yeah, and if Inslee can perform like that at the bottom of the lineup, which is no doubt struggled the last week and a half or so. I mean, me and you have talked about it. The top 5 hitters in this lineup are as good as any hitters in the country. And that's another thing about this weekend. Kavares Tears was not 100% at all. He didn't play one game. I think it was fairly obvious that he wasn't 100% when he did play even. But yeah, those top 5, you're not getting any better than that in the country. But those bottom 4, if Inslee can elevate his game, continue to elevate his game, I think the bottom of that lineup gets really scary as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, we haven't seen him really play a lot this year due to his bat not being around, but Cannon Peoples too, man. You got to realize, like, Cal Stark's been playing out of his mind defensively to where that's really holding Peoples back. I'm not saying he's a bad defender either, but Cal Stark's been lights out behind the plate. And he hit well this series too. Couple singles, got on base. This lineup, if Hunter Ensley and Cal Stark at the end of this lineup, man, it could be a problem, especially if you have like a solid DH, because I feel like that's what this team is missing right now is a DH, a consistent DH, because obviously KT was the DH on the third game, but obviously he'll be in right field if he's healthy, and but we need Villeneuve or Chapman to just come alive, because if something like that happens, man, Tennessee's a really hard team to beat. The pitching has been pretty good the past couple series, so it's going to be interesting. I think, like I said, if AJ Russell can get healthy, KT gets back in the field, and the DH, does something, good, this team's really hard to beat. Really, really hard to beat, especially going into postseason play, and having a home regional and stuff. It's gonna be hard to beat Tennessee.
Yeah, and you spoke about the pitching just now. I mean, you give up 2 runs first game of the doubleheader Friday, 4 runs the second game of the doubleheader, and then you give up 3 runs on Saturday. I mean, when you're only giving up 9 runs over a 3-game series, you're going to win that series most of the time. So, anything else on that Florida series, Jim?
Nah, man. I think it's a good momentum shift after that third game. I think Tennessee is going to go to Vandy. It's a semi-home game. Vandy's coming off. Let me say, we're going to have a Vandy podcast on Tuesday with Billy, and he's going to help us, see what Vanderbilt's thinking. But I'm going to say it there in that podcast. Vandy's going to be playing mad. I mean,
oh yeah,
you got slaughtered by Georgia. Not saying Georgia's bad. Georgia's a really good, hitting baseball team, but they're going to want to beat Tennessee. I mean, we swept them last year. They want revenge. They want revenge, and it's going to be a really good series, dude. I think it's going to be a really, really good series.
Yeah, I think so too. I definitely agree that after getting blitzkrieged in 3 games by Georgia, I'm pretty sure Georgia scored 10 runs in every one of those games. And Vanderbilt has always had decent pitching. I think those pitchers are going to want to do better. But like you said, we'll break that down a little bit more with Mr. Billy Derrick during the middle of this week. I wanted to talk about a little where the standings stand right now in the East, West, and overall. Now, I think I mentioned at the top of this podcast, but Kentucky was able to get a series win against Arkansas, one of the best teams in the country, and in the SEC, along with Tennessee and Texas A&M. That's huge. I mean, so Kentucky still stands atop the East, but Texas A&M was not able to get the series win against LSU. So you're most likely going to have a new number one team tomorrow. Now, I think I really think it might be Tennessee. At worst, I think Tennessee's going to be number two. What do you think, Jim?
I'm on the same page here. Um, I think what might hold us back is the Lipscomb game. I know midweeks don't really matter, but I honestly, I mean, Arkansas losing on the road to Kentucky, I could see them putting them at one, but uh, I'm really hoping, if everything goes right, I feel like Tennessee will be the one seed or the number one team in the country. But I feel like something's going to happen to where they'll be number two, which I'll be fine with too. Um, the numbers don't matter really, so it's just kind of a hold my dick moment if you're a number one team in the country. You know what I mean? Especially going number one team in the country to play your in-state rival that following week. So,
Yeah,
it's going to be. I'm hoping Tennessee could go just spank Queens real quick on Tuesday and get a lot of rest for Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
yeah. I mean, I could also see Clemson being number one. I'm pretty sure they did win their series against Georgia Tech. They came in at number 4 though, so it's more likely that Tennessee will be the number one team.
I would not be surprised to see like Tennessee 1, Clemson 2, and then like Arkansas and A&M 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to fall.
Well, actually, no. I could see Kentucky move to like a 3 or 4.
Well, yeah, considering they did just beat Arkansas. I mean, that's
what helps us is that we won that series head to head. So, but yeah, I think Kentucky moves up a couple spots. Like I said, that really doesn't matter during the regular season, but we'll see. Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, me and you touched on it before the podcast tonight, but I would love to be the number one overall seed. I know the last time we blew it in the Super Regional against Notre Dame, but I always think it's better to be feared than come in as the underdog.
No, I agree, and I think this Tennessee will run with that. They had, like I said earlier, they have that villain aspect that they're playing with a certain attitude, and I think this Tennessee team could go far with that. Like I said, I think if you want to talk College World Series title, I still think you're going to need AJ Russell back. I just think you need that extra arm.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think for Tennessee to get to the level of winning the national championship, I think AJ Russell will have to factor in. I couldn't agree with that more. So, what else do you want to get into tonight, Jim?
I think we've definitely been not talking about them nearly enough, or if any. But Lady Vol softball, number one seed, they clinched the regular season SEC championship for the second season in a row. They're playing absolutely out of their mind. I think this team has the talent and has everything you need, the pitching, the hitting, to go win a title. This team is absolutely stellar. They've been playing stellar all year. I feel like we should definitely talk about them more. They have won 40 games, lost 9. They're 19-5 in conference. I mean, they're 20-2 at home. They're just a really good, really, really good softball team, and they're a 1 seed in the SEC tournament. I expect them. They're going to be really hard to beat. I think. Honestly, though, we've talked about it before with past like basketball and stuff. I'd rather lose the SEC title and go win a national championship. But this team definitely has all the stuff you need to go do that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tennessee softball, the Weekleys were the coaches forever. Karen Weekly is now coaching it by herself without her husband, but it looks like they haven't missed a beat at all in the last 2 years. I mean, Tennessee softball has been probably the most consistently good program on that campus in the 21st century. I don't think it's even close because you had the football hiatus for 15 years. You had basketball purgatory in between Bruce Pearl and Rick Barnes. And, I mean, the baseball team was non-existent from 2005 until Tony Vitello got here. So probably the most consistent program on campus. And I agree that we should talk about it more. And we have a chance now as we get into the postseason because they will be starting the SEC tournament in Auburn.
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday, yes.
And
number one overall seed, it would be nice to win it, but I definitely agree with you. I would sacrifice that right now if you told me we're winning the national championship.
yeah, and I mean, I'm just going to shout out the two standouts to me. I mean, the whole team's been playing really well, but Carlin Pickens, absolutely stellar pitcher. I mean, no one could touch her. I mean, she's been lights out, and then you got Peyton Gottschall coming in. I mean, it absolutely two great pitchers, and I mean, Charlie Orsini's another one, another pitcher that gives Tennessee excellent opportunities to win. They've been playing awesome defensively. We all know that they could hit the snot out of the ball. Coming off a sweep against Kentucky at home, I think Tennessee. I think they're going to go do it. I think they're going to go win the SEC title, and then they're going to have a really good opportunity to take the World Series.
Yeah. I mean, last year they ran into Oklahoma in the Women's College World Series, which was very unfortunate because they had a great team last year too. But did you know that the team leader in home runs, second on the team in RBIs, Zeta Pooney, do you know who she is the cousin of?
Now, don't roast me, but I'm going to go Nico.
Yeah, that's Nico's cousin. She was actually here before Nico even committed, which, perfect game of 3D chess by Danny White and the whole athletic department to get Nico here. But she's contributed a ton to this softball team over the last few years, and it's like that's another name to mention. I mean, this team is deep. They got the coaching and they got the roster to make a deep run in the SEC tournament and in the postseason of women's softball. So, great story there.
I'm shouting out one more because since we shouted out Zeta, I'm going Kiki Malloy. Absolutely stellar outfielder. Another one that could spank the ball around. Again, we're going to talk about them a lot more as the postseason comes along. And I'm kind of ashamed that we haven't been talking about them as much, but they deserve it. They're going to go kick some butt in this SEC tournament.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And pivoting to another bit of women's athletic sports news today, Kim Caldwell continues to get some commits out of the transfer portal as she secures Samara Spencer from Arkansas, who was the SEC Freshman of the Year for women's college basketball for SEC women's college basketball in 2022. So what do you think about that addition, Jim?
I think people are starting to realize that you're going to want to come play for the Lady Vols. I think Kim has said it in all of her in her conferences, saying how they're going to play fast. They're going to play 11, 12 people. They're going to be moving all game. But talk about Spencer, like you said, SEC Freshman of the Year in 2022. Last year she averaged as a junior 14 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, this is an excellent person to come in and contribute right away. I think Kim's bringing in people that have the mindset. I don't think she's going to be bringing in just willy-nilly whoever. I think they're going to bring in the people that need to go win. And I think the Lady Vols basketball team is going to surprise a lot of people next year. I'd be pretty scared to play them coming up next year.
Absolutely. I think any concerns about Coach Caldwell's, coaching subtractions or additions, most of that was due to the recruiting aspect, and I think they're doing just fine. I think there's a very specific player she's looking for, a player who's going to give 110% throughout the whole game, however many minutes she plays, and I think she's doing that right now and securing these commits.
Absolutely. Tennessee all around. I mean, every sport we're looking good. It's really fun to be around right now because you got football looking really good for next year. You got baseball doing what they're doing now. Basketball next year is looking good. We're still waiting for Chaz Linear. I want to shout out that real quick. For people sweating that, don't be sweating it. He's not going to make a decision probably anytime soon. He's definitely training for the draft combine and doing all that stuff. We won't hear until he knows that he's going to come back to college. But, I mean, Tennessee's the leader of that. Don't listen to all these stupid Kentucky fans that think he's going to come to Kentucky. He's not going to Kentucky because I honestly, not saying anything bad about him. I just don't think there's so much movement over there that he might not get the opportunity to play like he would at Tennessee. So he's going to want to stay in state and stay at home. And as long as he doesn't go to the NBA, I think we're good. I think he's going to come home.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with everything you just said there. I think he's destined to be a Vol eventually, but I wouldn't 100% rule out him going to Kentucky because I do think he's a great player. I do think Kentucky would love to have him, but I also think, like you said, that Tennessee's the leader in that clubhouse. I think it's much more likely that he goes to the NBA than he goes to Kentucky.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize they kind of give it away on Instagram and stuff. I mean, he follows the big guys, Rod Clark and Lucas Campbell, the main recruiters for Tennessee. He follows Jemai Meshack, and I'm sure all these guys are talking to him, saying like, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do. This is, we need you," type thing. So it's we don't see behind the scenes, but this kid's good enough to go play in the NBA. It's just, is he going to get drafted? Who knows? If he doesn't think he's going to get drafted, he's going to come play another season. And we'll see. It's going to be really interesting, but yeah, that's all I got for him.
Yeah. And I just have one more thing for tonight. You alluded to it a second ago, but every sport at Tennessee, I mean, both of the tennis programs are advancing in their postseason tournaments. It's just everywhere you look in Knoxville, the athletics are excelling. So it's a very good time to be a Tennessee Vol.
Absolutely. And like we said, we'll be having another podcast on Tuesday with Billy Derrick, Vanderbilt coverage guy, our main guy from Vandy. Good dude. It's going to be a fun podcast. And it's going to be a fun, like I said before, it's going to be a really fun series. So I think that's all I got for today, unless Ryan's got anything.
Last thing I got, man, is go Vols.
Go Vols, baby.